Hey everybody, how's it going? Esteban Joseph from Stasis Jiu Jitsu and Yoga. Today's video is going to be a lot of fun. We actually had a comment on one of our older videos. It was called 4 Reasons Why You're Not Improving in Jiu Jitsu. And I made that video years ago. And you know what's funny? I even wore the exact same shirt in that video that I did today. Didn't mean for that to happen, it just kind of lined up that way. But the comment under that video, just a couple days ago, he said that he's been training for over a year. He's just not improving at all. He can't apply the techniques. He has his coaches telling him to just keep training, just by showing up, but he's finding that he just wants to quit. Now I read that and I replied back to him. We had a back and forth conversation. And I thought, well, you know what? One person commenting is sometimes a signal that there's gonna be other people that probably think the same thing, but they just didn't comment on the video, or maybe they just didn't even find the video. And so what I wanna do today is sort of tell you guys what I told him to help just kind of organize your training, just to change the approach of how you think about it. I'm gonna start off with just 3 simple things today, and that's pretty much it. And that's gonna be age, weight, and personality. When I asked the individual that commented, I asked him a couple questions. First thing was, well, in order for me to help you out and sort of figure out why things might not be working, I need a few questions answered. So one of them was age. Now, when I asked him how old he was, he replied back at 44 years old. Now, when you're coming into Jiu-Jitsu, Jiu-Jitsu has a lot of techniques, but a lot of the techniques you don't have to do, but in fact, trying to apply it to your game when it's not fitting right is just gonna set you back for a long time. And one of those is your age. The older you get, the amount of moves you're able to do starts to shrink, just naturally. It's just the way it is. There's nothing wrong about it. You just have to adapt. Someone who's 20 years old is able to do inversions, De La Hiva, crazy spider guard, leg lasso, omoplatas, all sorts of things. The options are really wide. But as you start to get older, the body doesn't move the same, the speed is not the same, reflexes. So the moves have to have a certain targeted effect. And that, my advice typically is, for that targeted effect, it has to be techniques that are more revolved around hugging and controlling and not requiring that much movement, just locking your joints in certain ways. Half guard is an incredible age-proof technique. It works when you're 20 all the way to when you're 50 or 60 years old. And that's bottom half guard, playing with a knee shield, framing up, working under hooks, anything in that area. Now, the second thing I asked was, how much do you weigh, right? How big are you? What are your attributes? And so that's the second. When I asked the individual how much he weighs, he said, I believe he said 230 pounds, 230, 240 pounds. That's a big guy. Now, I don't know I don't know if he's tall or short. I have no idea, lean or heavy, I have no idea. But what I do know, again, out of the set of moves that are able to be accomplished by somebody, it starts to shrink. Someone who's a lot thinner has a little bit more range and sort of options of what they're gonna do. Someone who's taller, someone who's shorter. Like, most techniques are applied, to be honest, at most sizes, but in the extremes, they do start to shrink. Same thing for him. Doing anything in regards to inversions. Maybe if you were 25 years old at 230, you can invert, but 44 years old, 50 years old, that's just not, I honestly wouldn't even advise it because the risk of injury is so high. Now, what I advised him was the strategy to go for. I always tell all the students that come in here that join our academy, especially when they're 45 plus, the style you have to adapt to is a more pressure-oriented style geared towards half guard, underhooks, double unders as it pertains to passing. Anything that doesn't require too much movement and just allows you to lock your joints in place. Because as you get older, your joints start to get stiff, which kind of adds that extra level of strength when it comes to a squeeze. And pressure, if you're 230 pounds, if you know how to properly apply your pressure on top, you're having a good time. You're just smashing those legs, working away, slowly, maybe leg weaving, whatever the case may be. You're able to do it gradually and slowly. You don't need to be fast, don't need to be explosive at all. You just need to know the traps and the sequences, and that's for your coach to pretty much help you out with. And now the last one is personality. Now, what does this even mean, personality? I don't understand what it means. Well, every single person in terms of temperament, some people are more aggressive, some people are a lot more passive, some people are a lot more designed for counter fighting, some people are better at setting traps, and others. Generally, you want to be as even across the board, but there will be something that overtakes the rest. Part of you as the athlete training, you have to figure out what that is. Because oftentimes people will take a technique and try to use a explosive version of that technique, thinking that that's the way it should be done, when they themselves are not explosive. They're just not, they don't have any fast twitch muscle. And also within them, they're not that type of grappler. They don't really want to be that explosive in class. They just want to be a little more, maybe pressure oriented, maybe a little more mobility oriented. And so trying to get that to squeeze together, you're just going to find that you're going to plateau. You're not going to enjoy doing the move at all. You're going to get frustrated and it's just not going to work out. It really is easy nowadays with Jiu-Jitsu becoming a lot more mainstream, that there's going to be certain personality types that will be copied and mimicked by people just coming into Jiu-Jitsu for the first time. Because the easiest thing to copy someone someone at the highest level, the easiest thing to copy right off the bat is their personality, the way they act, the way they talk, and the way they approach Jiu-Jitsu in terms of who they are. Now, if that fits right for you, that fits right for you, but more than likely you're just copying somebody that doesn't fall in line with who you are. And what ends up happening is you adopt styles that just don't fit right, and you don't enjoy doing it, but you end up keep doing it for months and months and years and years and years. That's the worst, by the way. If you notice it within a few months, it's no big deal, even a year. But a couple years down the line, if you don't catch it, oh man, you're gonna kick yourself for sure. Now, this is just scratching the surface in terms of all the information that you could just sit down and pre-plan, along the weeks and months of you just coming in and practicing and training, talking to your coaches. You have to organize your game, not just in terms of just picking techniques out of the blue. Does it fit you? What age category are you in? How much do you weigh? You have to factor all those in. And then when you look at techniques, you have to try to understand, okay, what technique is gonna fit 1, 2, and 3 the best for me? Which one's gonna work? And then once you start assorting those techniques over time, as you layer them, then you can figure out, oh, wait a minute, I can connect this move to this move. I can loop back around this way, maybe turn the corner. Oh, I see. And you can really start to explore your game. And then when you get good at that, when you get introduced to a new technique, right off the bat, you'll know if it works for you or not. You'll just know. And then, you'll have your coach there who maybe notices that you're not doing it because maybe you just are lazy towards that technique. You don't want to practice it. It's a little boring or what have you. And they're there to encourage you and to push you to work on it if it's specifically good. Otherwise, you would know. Once you get good at that, you will know. So again, age, weight, and personality. So that is it for today's video. I hope for some of you guys have had the same problem. I hope this helped you out. Just kind of gives you a little bit more perspective on your training, because oftentimes it's not because you have to quit or it's not for you. A lot of the times the situation is you just didn't organize your approach. You didn't think about what are the techniques that you're doing. Look, that's not for a white belt to do. That's for the coach to help you with. A white belt, you come in, what do you know? You don't know. There's like hundreds of techniques. How do you know? And so my advice, if whoever's watching this, if you're a coach, I really would advise trying to you can't do it. If you have a big school, it's difficult, but to pass on that knowledge across every class, little by little, here and there, it starts to really imprint and makes a big, strong impression. And you will see the excitement to come into class. We have a couple people that come in, some of them are 50 years old, some of them are 48. The movement access that they have is limited. But that doesn't mean they can't train. They can train perfectly fine. And then once I tell them that, once we line them up, they're excited, ready to come in and enjoying themselves. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, just like the guy who commented on the last video, please comment. I really do take them seriously. I answer all of them. And if it's something that I read and I feel that, a lot of people might be thinking the same thing, I'll do a video just like this. Subscribe, like the video. I'll see you on the next one.